Hey guys, it's Tay and Mike from the Black Dog Salvage podcast, and we just want to hop in here real quick and ask you what you think of the show so far.
Yeah, we're just throwing it on the wall and seeing what sticks, and trying to remember what we did, and we want to be able to tailor it a little bit to what y'all want, and so reach out.
Yeah, we're doing this for you as a way to continue to engage with the fans that so lovingly supported us over the 8 years we did Salvage Dogs, and that was not lost on us, and it's fun to be able to do this not only for ourselves to relive the memories we made filming the show, but to continue to interact with you guys. So I always say leave a comment in the YouTube version of the podcast and we'll answer the questions on the show. But in this case, if you would do us a favor, go to the comment section of this video either now or after you watch the episode, and let us know what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. Do you want it to be longer? Do you want it to be shorter? Are you bored? Let us know what you think.
Be kind. That's all I can ask is be kind.
We try to keep the moving parts down to a minimum. It's just us two and the mixing board in front of us, and I do a little bit of post production. But would you want to see more? Contextual pictures or, that kind of thing.
Yeah, what can we do to amp it up for you? We want to start bringing some guests in. We did that on the first part when we really tried to do this, the produce part of it, and it got a little hard to do. So,
but we can call people now with this board. We can have people call in. Next week we're going to have Grayson on. But, just let us know. Just give us some feedback because I think that would be very valuable for us.
And as we always say, come back and see us.
Now, let's get into the episode.
All right.
This is the Black Dog Salvage podcast, and we are on Season 1, Episode 8, the First Baptist Church. Let's get into it.
In Bluefield.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with the Black Dog Salvage podcast. My name's Tay Whiteside, and beside me is...
Senior Whiteside, Mike Whiteside, Tay's dad.
That's right.
My spawn.
The reason we're all here, right here.
Well, I'm half the equation anyway.
Yeah.
How's everybody out there? I hope everybody's doing good. It's today is the what?
Today is December 8th.
8th.
Thursday, December 8th.
So it's cranking through almost the end of the year.
You are listening to this on you're listening to this on Monday, December 12th.
That's when it's released,
that's right,
or dropped, as they say in the pod.
That's
biz.
right. Hey, look at you. That's a hip word.
Yeah,
dropping our new mixtape.
It drops. What's dropping? My draws. Dropping the draws.
It's something. Dropping the kids off. Well, today, folks, we got a good one for you. We're talking about a pick with Kelly from Kelly's Real Deals. We're talking about a build. We did a spice rack out of an old refrigerator, and we desecrate a sacred instrument at an old church in Bluefield, West Virginia.
I don't know about the desecrate. We do it, or a wrecking ball does it. It's just a matter of power.
Oh, sure. I was almost verbatim quoting an email that we got after this job, but we'll get there. We'll talk about that when we get to it. But as always, this was another beautiful 21-minute episode of Salvage Dogs, and it started with a wow.
Yeah.
And a man named Kelly came in. Why don't you tell the people who the heck Kelly is?
And Kelly's a fixture here. The name of his company is Kelly's Real Deal, so I always called him KRD. And he's an antiquer of sorts. He's got a place up on Route 11 heading out of Troutville. Yeah. And Kelly and I have befriended each other a long time ago, and we both are motorcycle enthusiasts, so we jump on our scooters and ride around the countryside. This is a beautiful place to ride motorcycles if you haven't been around.
Oh, it is. There's a lot.
So, we were always looking for somebody to come in and be a part of our wow. And so we planted that one. As a matter of fact, we did everything. He just provided the stuff. He didn't have a truck. He didn't have anything. So
was he using that Ford box truck that we had?
Yeah.
Oh,
did we ever
funny.
tell that story?
Yeah, we did. We did tell that story.
Okay, so we.
But it was a haggard old box truck. So we gave him the truck to fill with his stuff.
Yeah, we should have just given him the truck. And we bought some of the stuff. We didn't buy a whole lot. We negotiated for $1,000, and I think I got the horse.
Yeah, it was among the things was a giant, almost 1-to-1 scale plastic or paper mache
it was
horse.
more of a pony, I guess, size. It's not, that's probably about a 15 hand, maybe 14 hand.
Oh, that's right.
And that's a measurement too, from how you measure a horse's height. It's by hands, and it goes to the withers of a horse, which is the
sag in the spine.
I think now your mom's going to correct us.
Yeah, we got horse people out there. Yeah, for some reason, whoever was the first to discuss the height of a horse chose the unit a hand, which is sort of from your thumb to your pinky.
Well, it's an old measurement. Kinda. I think we ought to Google that. Like a cubit or a hectare or something. These are old measurements that were used by the Romans and the Egyptians.
Here's from Google. Thousands of years ago, there were no measuring tapes lying around. Thanks, Google. I knew that. People needed a way of measuring their horses. Okay, this isn't an answer. Sorry. This is just restating the question.
Oh, yeah. Great. It has to do with hands. I don't know if it's
okay, this unit of measurement, the hand, was standardized in the 1500s as 1 hand equals 4 inches.
Okay.
And has never been used since.
But you always ask.
It's literally only been used to what did you just say, cubits? Because here it says cubits were the length of a man's arm from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger.
Yeah, these are old measurements from the old world.
I wonder how many, and everyone, that's the funny part, is everyone's cubit is different.
Yeah, so they sized it to 4 inches. So if you have a, what is it, a 10 and a half hand.
Yeah.
That's only 40 inches though.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and a foot was at one point based on someone's foot.
Yeah. So I got the average foot. I'm a 10 and a half. So that's
12 inches long.
Yeah. So a stride for me is 3 feet. So we can go into to personal measurements, but I'd prefer not to.
But you bought a horse, is what we're getting at.
Yeah, we bought a plastic horse from Kelly. Yeah, and again, it was a trade. I went over one day, and Kelly came in a couple times during our show.
Did you actually buy? Were you actually buying things from him? That
day?
Yeah.
I mean, we some of the negotiations was a little planted, so to speak. But I didn't. We bought. I know I bought the horse, and then
because I remember seeing it around.
It's a couple architectural pieces, and I didn't get the clock. I don't think we got the wooden
bowling ball,
which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a precision thing. Because now bowling balls are like resin cast, with some sort of soft nougaty center.
My bowling ball would have a flat on it.
Yeah.
It would thump as it went down the lane. Probably jump lanes by that time,
Yeah, like a skateboard wheel that's been slid on. Dum, dum, dum.
It's cool. But go ahead.
Some good stuff there. Kelly was funny. You could tell that was probably the first time he'd been on television in a while. It's always funny. Like, we weren't polished by any means, but in this part of the show, anyone that got the camera pointed at him pretty much looked like a deer in headlights.
Well, sometimes, and Kelly hadn't had that kind of exposure. So, if Kelly, you're listening to this, I remember saying, "Hey, do you have a website? If you don't have a website, create one. Hurry up, because when you get this, if they KRD or Kelly's Real Deals, they'll start Googling you, and part of this whole thing is selling your stuff.
Yeah, have something to sell.
Have some exposure and get people to you. And I think people still see it and come and see them once in a while, just like when they come see us. But
big old sign, you can't miss it.
If you're going up Route 11 north out of Troutville, you look for the horse on top of the little building, and he'll have signs before it, kind of like Burma Shave, if anybody remembers Burma Shave. It's another thing.
Yeah, but he's got signs that says, "You're about to see Kelly's. You're almost at Kelly's." And if you pass it, it said, "You just passed Kelly's."
Yeah,
Are you sure you meant to pass Kelly's?
Yeah, that's right. Turn around and come back to Kelly's.
Yeah.
KRD, we love you, baby. What else would we do? So the build was kind of another pull it out of the magic hat kind of thing. We had an old refrigerator.
Yeah, this was a cool one, and I think it stuck around for a little while. But this build. So, for those listening, if there's new viewers, thanks for coming. Black Dog was known, I think one of the more valuable aspects of the business was the custom building, custom furniture fabrication.
Well, and it was the upcycling,
upcycling,
repurposing, and
not only could we build anything, but we could build anything out of anything.
Yeah. So what do you see in something when it's destined for the junkyard? You know, that really was just trash. Because it wasn't.
Because it didn't cool. This was like a
It was early
50s General Electric,
maybe even earlier than that.
Refrigerator. It was electric.
Yeah.
And it did have an internal freezer.
It wasn't an ammonia system. It was a Freon system.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen them, people listening. It's the rounded, it's almost pill-shaped.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Almost looks like an old jukebox.
Now it's like an apartment-sized refrigerator, you know. But it had a little freezer, had the butter holder, and then it had the little drain. No, it didn't even have a drain at the bottom. It just had a pan in it.
Yeah.
So we turned the bottom into a drawer, so you have a little utility to it. So you can. We know we've done some in the past where we turned them into gun lockers or something.
I did a Coke machine into a gun safe.
Yeah, that's right. You were still working with us at the time. Yep. Yeah, and you were with us this time. We had Lonnie he was our build guy.
Yeah, I was in the shop, but not the main. I wasn't the main go-to. And of course, even if I was, the way it was filmed, if these two things were actually happening in the timeline that the show said they were, I would have been gone. So we needed someone to do builds that wasn't you or I, because in the timeline of the episode we were
so we were creating our own reality.
Would have been a continuity error.
Yeah, so and you see that sometimes where we're running around in t-shirts, and then the next episode or the next part of the episode we're in coats and it's cold. Like it was snowy, or it had just snowed, I think, up in Bluefield when we went to make this job.
Bluefield, West Virginia.
That's right.
Speaking of Bluefield, that was the salvage for this episode. We went. Was it First Baptist Church?
Yes, it was right downtown, right across from the police station.
That's right. That's an important point, as we'll explain in a minute. But do you remember how this job came to be? Well,
we get calls all the time, and I got a call from the pastor, I guess, and this was a church kind of on its way out. It had no heat. I don't think it had any electricity in it. Maybe.
1800s?
It was pretty old. It was early 1900s. I think. It had some beautiful stained glass in it, which I was hoping we'd get, but he wasn't ready to open it up yet.
They weren't ready to poke holes.
And I haven't been up there since to look and see if it's still standing. I think it is. He wasn't planning on taking it down.
So he was likely renovating it, and a lot of the interior.
Exactly. He was going to drop where the organs and everything were. The altar or the balcony. He was going to drywall it and kind of close it up a little bit so they could heat it, because this was it was in pretty bad shape. The roof was going, but once we got up there, I can't remember the pastor's name, and maybe it came out on the show. I don't
think he was in the episode.
We negotiated everything beforehand. So what was available. There you go. What was available was what we obviously ended up taking, which was the balcony, the organ, the doors,
the infamous organ.
Yeah,
that big wall of pocket doors.
Right, and then the nativity scene.
Oh yeah. That it was like a print or a canvas. It was
a lithograph, I think. A lithograph company that made it, and so we'll just break into that one right now, because that was kind of one of the things we had to take our time with, because it was paper.
Was that on the wall of doors? Was that on the
exactly?
back?
It was hanging in front of it. So
this was like a 50-foot by 20-foot print of the religious nativity scene.
Right.
Baby Jesus.
Right.
And we had to not only remove it to salvage the doors, but I guess there was some value in saving it.
Well, there's definitely some value just because of the history of the company that put it together and printed it. And then, of course, this particular company, and I don't know if you wrote that down in your notes there.
I did not.
They did a lot of banners and circus attraction banners and curtains and
advertisements,
printing. Yeah, so it's really part of Americana these days. And
so you would have seen the whatever it was, the American Lithograph Company in the corner of all these prints,
right? And then it kind of dated it and it told where it came from, and who knows how old it was. I don't think there was a date on it, But in the condition it was in, which was pretty good for its age, I think, and it was probably put up there in the 50s or maybe even in the 40s. It was in pretty good shape for its age, and that's what they say about me all the time. You're not bad for your age, there, Mr. Whiteside.
If this is the right one, the American Lithographic Company was started in 1892 and went until 1929.
Okay, so that really dates it.
Yeah. They were based in New York. It was started by Joseph Knapp he was from he was born in 1860s. And yeah.
So this is
printed, producing a wealth of printed material until about 1929 when their assets were liquidated.
So these were early billboards.
It says they were, quote, a major force in American printing.
Right. And
so they did a lot of maps, and they did a lot of...
I mean, this was a huge piece. And, of course, we didn't want to rip it down and just tear it up. We treated it with respect because the reason we're doing this is to sell it.
Yeah.
And so, if you just rip it down and it's in pieces, we did this again in another church on another episode, but, these were almost like a stage backdrop.
Oh, I remember that.
And they probably used this during the Christmas season and the nativity, we had to take it because it was going to go away. So I was just happy that we got it on the ground and rolled it up to get it home. That's the hard part of this whole thing is saving what we've got so it lives another day.
Yeah. Well, and you think of things that Black Dog is maybe not qualified to move, and I would think at the top of that list is a very fragile, large paper print. So,
we've done.
So we had a lot to prove.
Yeah, and it was brittle. So we brought it. We sold it.
Did we
to a company, not a company, to a church, I think, or an organization that wanted that for the nativity, and it was it just fit perfectly, and we were able to ship it. We rolled it up into a tube.
Yeah,
like one of the carpet tubes or one of the
those cardboard tubes.
Cardboard tubes. Yeah. Rolled it up, stuck it in, covered it up, and off she went.
There you go.
It was pretty cool. You fold it up, you ruin it.
You crease it, it's done.
It'll tear.
Yeah.
It'll
Plus
tear.
it probably tear because it's so old.
So that was how we started because that was the first thing that was in front of the doors.
It was in the way, really.
Yeah. And there was a panel of six doors, I think, that were.
15 feet tall.
Bifold. No, they weren't quite that
pretty tall.
They were tall though, probably around 12.
12 feet tall.
Yeah, and just there were multiple, so somebody could either use them as they were, or you could turn them on their side and make them wainscot paneling. You can make tables, headboards. I mean, the things you can do with doors is pretty wide open.
They're beautiful. They were these horizontal panel, probably 6-panel doors.
Yeah.
And they were like tiger oak.
Yeah, and that's a tiger oak or
quarter sawn.
Quarter sawn is cut on the bias. It's not cut flat. It's cut on the radius. So you cut through where you're cutting through the rings.
Yeah,
is on the diagonal.
Yeah, and that makes the grain. The grain looks different in it. There's some transverse grain.
Right, and it's hard. It's hard to kind of it's a math equation.
Yeah, the only way to explain is if you draw a circle and then you draw the rectangle of the board that you will eventually mill out of that circle, and you can illustrate it that way how it's cut. It's sort of
most wood
is just cut.
Most wood's cut on the flat plain sawn, they call it. So you're just going to get the grain pattern that you get. But when a quarter sawn, what I've been told, is cut on the radius. So you're cutting 360 degrees towards the center.
Yeah, your board only goes half the
It goes
diameter.
towards the center, yeah. And then you'll get a little quarter sawn. You get near a branch, and then you cut it. You'll see some quarter sawn. It'll feature where the confluence of I guess they call it the crotch of.
We sure did.
Terms you use in salvage.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay away from that crotch.
The crotch of the tree.
Yeah.
But so the quarter. I mean, building anything of that scale out of quarter sawn oak is really impressive nowadays. Back then, it was more common. But.
Well, it doesn't yield as much, so it's a little more sought after. And of course, if you get a big piece of quarter sawn oak or like a board, then that was a big tree because it was only cut towards the center.
The tree could have been twice the width.
It stopped in the center, so. Just a little FYI there for you about tree rings and quarter sawn and plain sawn and tiger oak and What's an? I don't know. There's probably a couple more words for it.
Can they even handle any more terms?
No, sure they can. I mean, I'm not.
You guys still listening?
I'm not the tree whiz. Yeah, are you listening? That's a good question. You know, we're kind of making sure that we cover everything, but we want to hear what you guys got to say about us.
They've already seen that. That'll be in the beginning.
Did you already do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't yet, but we will have.
Okay, we'll put that.
I got a plan.
Never mind.
But anyway, knowing what wood you're looking at is important for assessing the value of what your could or couldn't be, may or may not be saving, right? So in this case, we knew how to identify tiger oak. We were then able to say it to camera, and we knew, May, would you like to contribute to the podcast?
Oh, she's all right.
Then,
she's ready to go home.
So anyway, yeah. So that was, we knew they were super valuable. And
well, it's just something get, and a lot of it's veneer sometimes. They veneered tiger oak, and usually old veneers were between 1/4 and 3/8 thick. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, and nowadays it's by the thousandths of an inch. It's very thin. It's a veneer. It's almost vinyl. So thin you hit it with a buffing pad and it'll burn through.
Yeah, and a lot of the modern veneer comes with like 3M adhesive already on the back of it.
It's a tape.
Stick it.
And then they also did a faux finish that was a quarter sawn finish, and sometimes it's really, really done well, and sometimes you can tell right away that it's hand grained. So a lot of people had techniques that, but this was real. This is real, and of course they're gone. We sold those things pretty quick.
Yeah, and for probably a decent chunk. I remember those big, tall pocket doors usually sold for, could be that $1,200 for a set.
We can sell them for a loft up in New York, Chicago, or something.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a fun one, and it was easy to get. So when you're salvaging, you're always looking for the low hanging fruit.
And that's a door. You pop the hinges, put it in the truck. There's your fruit.
Well, if and hopefully you save the hinges because the hinges have value. Everything has value if you just give it a little care, a little love.
Oh, we forgot to do comments. We'll do that later.
Yeah.
We then moved from the giant wall of oak pocket doors to the, as you put it in the initial interview, the round table. You said it's a decorative organ. And Ted was quick to point out, by decorative, do you mean no longer functioning? And you said yes.
Yes.
So that was one of the big gets while we're there. The organ and the balcony around it, that whole area of the church was a big focus.
That was going to get covered up because he was going to close it up with drywall. So everything back there was fair game.
And talk about everything back there. We got an organ and we got a wall, multiple walls of metal or lead. Organ whistles or pipes.
I don't know if they lead or tin.
Lead or tin,
metal. Very soft.
And then a wooden organ whistles, horn, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
That were square in nature. They looked like a train whistle almost, just big, and one for every chromatic note.
Whatever that is. As a matter of fact, we just broke that one of those sets up.
Really?
Yeah, we had them for a long time. We
we had them displayed in a row there for a while.
Yeah, and they were till probably 6 months ago. Not even 6 months ago. A couple of weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, and I was tired. It was time.
Here we are, 10 years past when we actually salvaged.
Oh yeah. That. So I finally, because we buried them, and that's what we do over at Black Dog. We'll find stuff and looks good, then we'll put something in front of it and something in front of it, and that's what happened to these guys. And that was the wooden pipes. The metal pipes. We just put those in bins, and one person came and bought most of the big stuff. I don't know where we got. I think, matter of fact, the boxes that we put those organ pipes in looked like they were made for it, and actually they were, because those were organ pipe boxes for another church that I think it was Robert's church or Robert's family's church, I think the Presbyterian church in Second Pres, I think.
Yeah,
and those boxes were. 4 organ pipes.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
It's never the case that we have the right container,
the right box for the show, and they're you can destroy them pretty quick. We still have some of those pipes left, but they're in such bad shape. They've seen their day, and they won't whistle anymore.
Well, speaking of whistling, when we got to removing those, it was you and me and Mike Pay, who was joining us, and Grayson was with. The four of us went organing, and then Ted and Robert were working on something else.
They're on the doorstep.
And how I defy anyone out there to reclaim, pull out, remove an organ pipe and not blow in it. I bet you $100 you will.
I know one person who won't.
Would that be Robert
It
Culp?
was somebody we know and love dearly is Robert Culp. And of course, you blow it once, okay. You blow it twice.
But you get the different size. You want to see how the sound changes.
So cool,
You know the smaller ones are higher pitched, but you want to hear it.
And you got to hear it, and you got to, feel like the Pied Piper, you get a little piccolo going, And so we started puffing on those old pipes, and
they played the dopey music the editors did, and there was a whole segment when we were just tooting on them.
Right.
And I thought it was hilarious.
I did too.
Having so much fun.
It's a doggone shame that Robert had a Auntie Jones for it, but Robert
he was spreading it a little thick.
He was. I think he was
amping it up.
I think he was playing it to the camera. Yeah, but he what was his comment?
Well, it's no secret around Black Dog that Robert doesn't like fun. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's not true at all.
No, but he has a particular issue with humming, whistling,
singing,
idle noise, annoying music.
Well, he said
too loud.
It's
the sign of a vacant mind.
Sign of a vacant
is what
mind.
He's always particularly referring to whistling and humming.
Yeah. And
the implication there, if you need it more clear, is that if you're whistling or humming, your brain isn't working.
Yeah, it's idling, and that's where the devil comes in, or whatever. A vacant,
that's where the productivity leaves.
I don't think that's the case at all, but that's just Robert's outlook on that particular part of it, and it kind of played through the whole time. So we kind of played to it.
Well, in court, it's when you're friends like that. He has exposed his annoyed button. So we start pushing it.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, it was fun. Like I would say, it's like a fart. It's always
fun.
Always a funny thing. Somebody passes wind. We were just passing wind through a pipe.
Better than a fart in public, I would argue.
That's right.
But
not quite as offensive.
No, but speaking of offensive, I remember shortly after that episode aired, we got an email from someone, and they were irate about us. I don't have it in front of me, but I remember very vividly. They said, "quote We were, disrespecting a sacred instrument,
or desecrating
something to that effect." And they were real broken up about it.
Yeah, well, they could have bought it, and we just sold it to them. I always tell people, if you don't like what we're doing with it, buy it and do something else.
You save it from us by purchasing
That's right. Yeah. I had an old TV, a Philips. I call it, the old round TV. The old, I guess it was a CRT.
Oh, yeah.
And it was early on, and I was going to say, why don't we just put a fish tank in it? Pull the bulb out, put a fish tank in it, so you're watching the TV, and all there's fish.
Oh, sure.
Oh, and people got just all upset, all left and right on themselves.
It happens to me to this day. The building we're in right now is my shop, and it was a 100-year-old machine shop, and I had to move a lot of iconic, surviving 1800s machines out of here, and I did it in a way that most of them went to people that were going to restore them and keep using them.
Yeah.
But even then, every day I get at least 2 or 3 comments saying, "You violated that shop. You should have done this. You should have done that. You shouldn't have done that." And my answer is always the same, which is that you have to look at reality.
Yeah.
I mean, what if someone got the building that had no mechanical sympathy for old tools? They would have just scrapped the whole thing to make room for their brewery.
We definitely well. Yeah.
That's what happens to a lot of these old and I love craft beer.
So this thing is destined. This particular building we're in, which we're talking about, is destined to be a brewery.
Eventually, yeah. I'm going to upsize at some point, and there'll be beer being poured. Who knows? Right behind us.
Lift arc growlers. That'd be awesome.
So yeah, we got in some hot water, not real hot water, it's just someone's unfortunate opinion about how we treated the.
You know what they say about opinions.
Everyone has one.
Everybody has one.
They're like. Yeah, buttholes.
There's another word.
But we got them all down. There's a lot of organ pipes.
Yeah.
And then we moved to the balcony, that the organ was sort of suspended on.
This was a dangerous balcony too, because if you were up there, it was only when you were sitting in your chair in the choir.
Yeah,
it was a choir loft.
Right. Okay.
And the wall was only about 2 foot tall.
Oh, sure.
So if you're walking up there,
and it's 10 feet off, 8 feet off. The
yeah,
ground.
and you take a digger or a stumble like I do these days, you're going head into the altar where the pastor's singing away, and you dive into him. So it wouldn't be that much fun. But
you could blame it on you were overcome by the Spirit.
You know, it wasn't code. It wasn't. There was no code at that time. You know, now they couldn't build it to that.
And it would never, other than being grandfathered in, quote, it would never have passed any modern safety inspections.
Yeah, or just be very careful.
You would have had to add something on top of it.
We'd have to put some climbing gear on them just so they didn't fall over.
The noise you're hearing right now is our dog, May, and she's having an emotional experience. The two of us are sitting here, and I believe her complaint would be, if she could speak, why aren't we going home yet?
Well, yeah.
And I'm hungry, and I need my hikes.
So we'll get to that in a minute, May.
We're getting there, May. Sorry for the dog whining noise.
It's
We're not ignoring her. She's not in a cage. She's right here.
She's in good shape.
Right. So, but Robert... in his classic fashion, said that, in a way, implicated that we had idle minds here blowing through,
and we do,
and that's
he's right. Nothing wrong with an idle mind. That's called meditation in my house.
What good is a day of hard work if you can't pepper in some fun along the way?
One
I'd argue is one of the funniest parts of the episode.
It's one thing on
Mr. Kulp.
On a boat, you don't whistle. Because that's called, when you're whistling, it's calling the wind. So you're whistling up the wind, and a wind can be a hurricane. So, when you're sailing, you want the wind, but you don't want to whistle it up because you don't have any control.
You say thank you for what the wind is giving you, but
so
don't
you just
spur it on.
You don't whistle on a sailboat or a boat in general. Just you're not supposed to. That's an old folklore, of course.
Maybe that's where that opinion was beat into Robert's head in the Navy.
Maybe. No, I think it was more just his
more of an A-type thing.
His position. It's okay, though. It doesn't make you a bad person.
Oh, it sure was funny, though.
Yeah.
That was a long-running joke.
We had the balcony or the choir loft that we were going to take off, and we wanted to take it off in one piece if we could, but it just wasn't going to happen, and we didn't have the mechanical advantage to lift it off and drop it.
Yeah. So, and this is basically, if you hadn't seen the episode, this is like a knee wall, like a 30-inch tall wall that was like 10 or 12 inches thick.
Yep.
With a big, all solid wood cap rail, and part of it was curved, and then part of it was straight. And again, it's 8 feet off the ground. So, and 50, 60 feet long in total?
It was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably 40. It wasn't terribly big because we cut it in half.
In thirds.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Two curved parts and then the center and front. And we sold it complete to someone who was going to put together and make, guess what? A bar.
Well, Grayson said it best. And I believe, by the way, for the Grayson Goldsmith, now Hollingsworth fans out there, this, I think, was Grayson's first televised episode
on the show.
It was not the first salvage job that she did with us,
right? Because
they ended up showing him out of order. But I think, unless our memory's terrible,
nope.
I think this is the very first one that she made it on. In fact, I don't even think we talked about her or introduced her or anything. Probably because we had done a different one.
We didn't
first.
have control of it. We did the round table before she started working with us.
Yeah.
So she wasn't sitting with us at the round table. And the round table was one of our morning meetings, I guess.
That's when we're all sitting around talking about it.
And really, that happens after everything's done, so we can tell ourselves what we're going to do because we've already done it.
Yeah. But Grayson said that when the first section of this knee wall, the balcony wall, hit the ground, she goes, "Welcome to the bar," because that's exactly what it looked like.
It was the right height. Yeah.
So that just makes all kinds of sense.
I mean, we had Mike Pay was with us, so we had 6 of us.
Yeah.
And it took every bit of it.
Every bit.
And so the only way we're going to get the pipe organ itself out was to remove this piece.
Yeah.
So it came out in 3 pieces. We got it in the truck, and now we had to take the organ and
dissect the organ.
That was more for TV than what we needed it to be, just because it really had no resale at all.
Obviously, he's not going to. I mean, good Lord, could you imagine the test of patience to actually restore? I remember, I think at one point, every key and foot pedal had an actual air pipe running to it.
Right.
So there's no electronics. It was a physical valve for every single organ pipe.
And they had a bellows on this. This was an electric a motor that ran a bellows,
an actual
a squeeze box.
There you go.
It's a bellows.
Yeah,
and that's what provided the air or the power to toot the organ.
Yeah, it takes a lot of air too. A lot of air, as we found out.
And it was down in the basement, and I said I could have it, and I looked at it a couple times, and it's like, nah. I think I may have taken the bellows off and brought it, and of course it turned out to be absolutely nothing that we could use. And it took us a long time to sell that organ. It sat in the garden room for...
Shocker.
Yeah. But somebody came in one day and just said, what do you take for it? And I made them a deal they couldn't refuse, and off she went. Yeah. It took about 6 years probably to sell it,
That's not bad.
But what that taught us about pipe organs. We did our history on that, our work on that one, and it told us that, they have, they do have resale, but they have to be taken apart by a expert who understands what they are. I mean, don't ever let a salvage crew take your pipe organ apart if you want to use it again. Because, we don't know how to take things apart easy. We do know how to take things apart.
They'll come apart.
Yeah. And when we're taking the organ off, we had to figure out we couldn't lift it up because it was extremely heavy.
Yeah. A lot of metal pipe and solid wood frame and ivory keys.
So we set a ramp up. We kind of leaned it back. And we used a couple of 2x4s, built a ramp.
Yes, we did.
We channeling our inner Egyptian.
Yeah. Archimedes would have been proud.
Yeah, the fulcrum and all that stuff.
There
was a fulcrum.
Simple
there.
Machine.
Yeah, gravity.
Inclined plane.
There you go.
That's what it was.
That's what it was. We got it on the floor. We got it on $2, and the next thing was getting it out of the building. Tough. I mean, you didn't really see a whole lot of the struggle there, but that was part of it.
I do remember quite the struggle.
I mean, there was a certain point where we're going like, is this worth it? And it really turned out that it wasn't. But
I think at this time, I had Ted and I had sort of a general cynicism towards mountains of hard work, and I think he and I both were sort of like, do we really want this?
well, it's part of the show, and you were getting paid by the hour, so there you go.
Oh, sure, right. I developed a better attitude, I think, after a few years of that. But
you can go sit down, but clock out while you're at it.
Yeah, I'm not paying you to not help.
Yeah, you got to get in here. So we got in the truck, and then there was one last thing that we needed to get, and it was the lamp of the light post, and that was an old cast and steel light post up front. It had a nice little curl. And
out front on the sidewalk.
You try to dissect it a little bit. You see what's holding it down, and it was in a chunk of concrete, but it was bolted, and it was
seemingly
it was rust welded. You call so it was all just fused. So I couldn't shake it, and I couldn't dig it, so I'm going to pull it.
We cut the bolts off, what we could see, and it was not moving.
And we didn't have a whole lot of experience on lifting it. We didn't have a lot of equipment. Matter of fact, we didn't have any equipment. This was before we got our...
there's Robert Kulp.
Yep. I'll call him right back.
Okay. Put him on speaker and ask him about whistling. Hold him up.
Hey, Robert.
You're on the podcast.
You're on the podcast, buddy.
I'm on the podcast. What
are
we doing?
We're recording the podcast, and this is the Baptist Church. You're talking about the whistling and everything.
Yeah, us blowing the organ pipes. Do you remember that?
Oh, how could I forget it?
Yeah. So we're just getting to the part where we pulled the lamp post down.
Oh yes.
There's some fine engineering there, Mike.
That was fine.
Just the way you drew it up.
Brute force, baby. Hey, but we saved it, and it went on to live another day.
Did it?
Yeah.
I was thinking more of that fine organ that you treated so nicely coming down the steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember how that extraction went?
Terrible.
I just don't even want to think.
Yeah,
about
Robert.
Why are you making me think about
that? Robert's had a tough week, so he don't need that. Anyway, what's going on?
Hey, real quick question. I was talking to Joe Thompson and about the.
We'll be right back with more Black Dog Salvage podcast.
Well, there you go. I didn't put it on airplane mode, and you got a little taste of Robert Kulp. We're talking about a little salvage job tomorrow.
There we go, and we're back.
Here we
Black
go.
Dog.
Here we go.
I'll cut the most of that call out. That's okay.
Cool.
Well, anyway, yes, the light post. It was bolted originally, and over time, probably 100 years, it became welded to the stud on the bottom. It was probably 20 or so feet tall with a little curved element that actually held probably a gas light at some point.
It was beautiful. It really was. And so
but we wanted to take it.
Yeah. So I didn't want to snap it, the post itself. So I tied it low, and I was going to the only mechanical advantage we had because we had nothing to tie to.
That's why you tied it low. That does make sense.
Yeah, just on the lower first part, like the newel post part of it.
Yeah.
And so we tied it up and let her go. Just gave it a little nudge and then a little pull, and then it was, put this thing in low gear and stomp on the accelerator and see what's going to happen. And it finally loaded up enough to release.
And boy, did it!
Yeah, it came smashing down to the floor. It was the sidewalk. And of course, at that point, we had an audience. Matter of fact, we
were across the street from
there was a
station.
lady who wanted it.
That's
remember
right.
Yeah, that's fine. And she was sitting.
And she was watching us remove it.
And I said if I can get it down in one piece, I'll sell it to you for $500.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell her what I would sell it to her for if it didn't come down. And when it came down, she's over there shaking her head inside her car because it was cold. And I said, well, it didn't make it in one piece.
We pulled it. It slammed on the ground.
How about $200? And she says, nah, I don't want it. And I said, okay, that's how it goes. They ended up putting it back together. And it was because it wasn't that hard. And sold it to a local fellow who put it in his business in Farmville.
Okay.
Or Framingham. Farmville, yeah. So it made it, and it sold.
Didn't she just drive off immediately? She didn't come up and...
No, she didn't examine it. She didn't even give it a second thought. It didn't make it, and that was all she was.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to give her a good price.
That's pretty funny.
You got to look at it. I told her I could fix it.
Yeah.
She didn't believe me, so there you go.
Well, yeah, it's just a jarring visual to watch your light post that you want to buy just slam into the sidewalk.
It didn't finish well, but it was just a visual, like you said. It came apart. It went back together okay.
And it's just a really funny element.
Yeah, well, that's part of the whole thing.
Try and maybe fail.
I mean, we don't do this. We don't destroy stuff because we want to destroy stuff. We give it effort. We did our best we could, and time is our enemy. So
it was the last thing we were getting.
God, and we were staying. The hotel we stayed at there for that thing was just awful. It was like an old Holiday Inn or something. Do you remember that?
I might have just blacked out.
Yeah, and we found a bar and we were singing karaoke. Beth Glover, one of our producers. Remember, she was singing.
I do remember that hole in the wall.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah,
I mean, we've stayed in some pretty bad hotels through the years.
Yeah, well, and
that was the best one around, by the way.
Yeah, the best worst one around.
No, the only one, to tell you the truth.
And we stay with the crew, so they usually stay where we stay. Yeah, and usually, good or bad. When you're at breakfast the next morning or dinner that night, it's a fun topic of discussion. Yeah. Well, what's wrong with your room?
Yeah, and Beth,
what'd you find in your bed?
Beth was singing the Lumineers, "Hey Ho" or
hey ho. It's all that hipster stomping, clapping.
Yeah, I don't
music.
know what it was.
Yeah,
but she
I do remember that now. Yeah. Shout out Beth Glover.
Yeah, baby.
She's an incredible artist. Actually, now she's doing a lot of her own artwork. I think it's Beth Glover Creates or Beth Creates or Beth Glover Artist. I don't know. Find her on Instagram.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
She was a lot of fun. She's a good sport. Really rolled with the punches. For a long time.
we weren't easy.
No,
there wasn't anything easy about us on or off the camera. So she persevered.
Well, it's like Mom said about you. It's always an adventure.
Sometimes it's one you don't want, but there you go. You don't get a choice. Well, that was pretty much the show.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it was nasty. Oh, one thing we had to do too, which was really unusual. We got one of the code enforcement officers came over. I thought they were going to shut us down because they thought we were demoing or something, and they said we had to have a permit to shoot. It was something to do with the circus.
Oh.
And it was an old provision, but we had to go over and buy $25 permit
to film in their town.
Yeah, and it was I mean, it was kind of fun. City Hall was just on the caddy corner.
Yeah,
and that's the first and last time we've ever had to do that. Matter of fact, we went back again to West Virginia and had to do it again.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's a locality thing.
It's a state thing, I think.
That's funny because I just heard in like Louisiana, like Bourbon Street, around Mardi Gras time, or maybe any time, you can, in the state of Louisiana, you can go to the police station and they will help you orchestrate your own parade. There is a parade division in the police department of Louisiana.
Yeah.
And they'll ask you, how many people in your parade? Do you want a band? We can connect you with a band, and we'll give you police escort for the duration of your parade.
So that's going to cost
and it costs
X.
like, who knows, $500.
Right.
But you can have a one-man parade in Louisiana if you want, sanctioned by the police department.
I may do that someday. What's Mike doing? Well, he's on a parade.
Yeah.
Anyway, just some weird laws around there that that it comes with the vaudeville, the carny.
It's a leftover from that era.
The magic shows, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I forgot to do them at the head of this episode, but we got some comments from last week's episode. Flyfisher63 on YouTube said, that government cheese was awfully good. Be good with that Whiteside shine. I guess someone out there has also had government cheese.
Well, it kind of dates you if you know what government cheese was. I don't know that I ever ate any of it, but it was something. It was through the Depression that the government
cheese product.
Yeah, it's probably still out there. It's probably got the shelf life of honey that's found in the crypts of the pharaohs.
Yeah,
you got Egyptian honey and government cheese. What else?
Anthony Roloffs said, another great episode. What is Ted up to these days?
Ted is he's professed to be a gentleman farmer.
There he is.
Yeah, he's been all over the place. He went down and did some touring with his band a little bit, and they made a new album or release.
Not Even, right?
Something like that. Yeah,
I think the band's called Not Even.
And then he's went down to Florida and worked in putting some restaurants together. And now he's out in Giles County at his dad's farm, helping him gentleman farm.
There you go.
I'm not sure exactly what that is, but I think it's running around on a tractor, and chainsaws are probably involved. And, things like that.
Yeah.
I think he has cattle. I'm not sure.
Sure.
I don't think there's any.
Gentleman farming sounds like it could be a euphemism.
And guess what? His hair looks just like it did on the show.
It's got its own life.
It's got its own
Ted's
Facebook
hair.
page.
Yeah.
Ted's a good guy.
We'll get him on.
He was a hard worker, but he was also comic relief. The guy was.
He was funny.
He was funny.
Ted was very naturally funny.
Yeah.
Still is.
We enjoyed it.
Another person, Bobby Gully, said, my mom and I used to get that government cheese. The one we got was pretty tasty. So
How about that? There you go.
Just a general question, Mike. Your kids. Oh wait, I forgot to expand that question. Sorry, Bobby Gully. He deserves better. Give me 1 second.
I'm glad you're doing this because I'm
just looking at my phone. Okay, here it is. Bobby Gully. Just a general question, Mike. Your kids have gone into other businesses for themselves. Have Robert's kids done anything like that, or do they work with Black Dog at all?
No, Robert's kids are on their own path. Two of them are graduated, and one's, I think, still in grad school.
Aaron went to
she's out
UVA.
No, Aaron went to Tech.
She's working out.
Caroline is a collegiate swimmer at UVA.
That's right.
And so they're out.
I think Natalie went to Tech too. Robert has 3 daughters.
3 daughters. They're all out in the world doing their thing. And I think this is the last year for Caroline. She'll be graduating, and who knows where they'll be doing. They're great people. They got super parents, Patty and Robert, and they're just pillars of society.
There you go. Stand-up kids.
Yes, they are.
Adults now.
Well, they're very much like their mom and dad.
That's right. Well, and Aaron, the oldest, worked at Black Dog for a little while.
Yeah, we had
just over the summer.
A
few times,
yeah,
probably.
we get a lot of college folk, kids. I mean, you guys, you were there all the time. Gracie came in quite a bit and worked. Yeah, it was easy. It's just selling junk. Excuse me, selling treasures. It was fun, and it gives them a kind of a view into the world of retail and how things are sold. And
I'm forever grateful about growing up at Black Dog.
Right.
However little I may have shown it at the time, the lessons I learned about business and
just how to
interacting with people,
how to talk to people.
Yeah.
Give them an experience.
No matter how bad you may not want to talk to them, you at least, if you're representing a business, you learn how to.
You don't go out in public and not talk to public. Because you're in to sell something, somebody says, I want to buy this, you don't talk to them, they're going to walk out, and guess what? You didn't sell something, and the whole purpose for this business is selling stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, it's just a real bad habit.
Yeah, it's you're hoarding.
Yeah, it's a hoarding. We turned hoarding into a business.
Yeah. That's all the comments, but I did save something that I found on Instagram recently, and I don't know if whoever's still listening now, there's an Instagram page called Big Lick Memes, and Big Lick is the old name for Roanoke, and a meme is like an online joke.
Right.
A meme is sort of a graphic. It's usually a picture of something with text overlay to imply.
Everybody knows everybody's seen it, but they don't always know what it is.
So I found this meme, and it's a video of a guy obsessively grabbing and counting money, and it's an insane little looping video. And the title at the top of the video says, Black Dog Salvage, when they charge $35 for a piece of unrecognizable rusted metal.
There you go.
This guy's giving us crap.
Gives us a shout out in an off way. Well, that's okay. The way I look at it is you don't have to buy it.
That's right.
And if
we've dealt with people for 20 years that think it's overpriced.
Yeah, we're not cheap. We put value on stuff, and there's always some stuff that are you kidding me? And I say that sometimes myself, going like, how'd that price get on there?
Well, right. Sometimes things get mislabeled.
It's a little crazy, but
but in many cases, you take into account what it took to get it, what it took to clean it or fix it, and then.
Usually there's not enough money once you start looking at what it took to do it.
Yeah.
But we put value on stuff, and if you don't want it, you're welcome to make an offer. That's the way I look at it. And if you don't want to make an offer, then there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, enough said.
Not everybody wants to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Buy a T-shirt and
thank you.
And say thank you very much. We appreciate it. Oh, by the way, I'm sporting
Eco Relics.
I was down there this week, Monday, doing some trading with Mike Murphy and his crew. Great company down in Jacksonville, Florida.
Sure.
And we delivered the table, the conference table.
Follow me at Lift Arc Studios on Instagram and Black Dog Salvage on Facebook. We just posted some pictures and video of a metal table base that I built on commission, and then you guys painted and then put this beautiful, like book-matched walnut live edge top.
Surah.
That's the wood?
Monkey pod, I think. Yeah, it's from Indonesia. Beautiful.
Monkey pox.
Pox. Not pox, pod.
Monkey pod.
Yeah.
That's the name of the wood?
Yeah, it's just another name. They have Surah is what it was called when we bought it. So you can call it anything you want. But
interesting.
It was gorgeous, and we took it down to Murray & Associates, Naval Architects, and it's now gracing their conference room.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Good piece. But that's why I was down in Florida. Then I went and did some trading with Eco Relics. Got your shirt, and great people. If you get a chance to get down there, they're super. I mean, they do a lot of good stuff, and they got a cool place too. I mean, it's like a busman's holiday. You just, I want it. I got to quit that, but it was fun.
Black Dog is certainly not the only people out there salvaging. There's a lot of good ones, and you should explore them all.
Yeah.
Support your local salvage company.
Absolutely. They get great stuff.
Well, that's it for this episode.
That was a fun one. That was early. I wasn't quite prepared for this today. My mind wasn't quite right.
It doesn't matter. We watched it literally before we pressed the record button, and thankfully there was a lot of funny, I think, in this episode, and there's some drama. We laughed, we cried.
What was it, number 7?
It was the 7th one, I think.
Yep. So we're more than halfway through our first season.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. We're halfway through season 1 of Salvage Dogs here on the Black Dog Salvage podcast. It's a lot of fun. We're having a good time. It's just fun. If no one's listening, we're having fun on our own.
Yeah, it gives Tay and I something to do on Thursday.
Yeah.
Not that we don't have anything else to do. You know, I could be sitting there and drinking bourbon, but I'd rather
we can do that on the show.
I'd rather do this.
If you like the show, tell a friend. Shout us out. You know, share with your family and people that you might think would be interested in this kind of thing, or maybe fans of the show that want more. That's really who this is for. You know,
right?
It's
the
community that has supported us so handsomely over the years, and we're not doing the show anymore. We're never going to do the show again. Might do something like it. Who knows?
Never know.
But at least in the meantime, we can do this and share this with you.
Yep.
So thanks for joining us here. As always, the video version is available on YouTube, Black Dog Salvage's YouTube channel, and the audio version is available wherever you get your podcasts.
So like us, subscribe,
rate.
all the thing, rate, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever trips you trigger.
And leave a comment in the YouTube version, a question, and we will answer them here on the show.
We'll give it our best shot anyway.
Next week, we will have Grayson, the one and only Grayson Hollingsworth, on the episode, as the episode we'll be talking about is the Homestead Stables one, and that was her quite the job.
That was her first one, so that was a real salvage job.
Yeah,
you know,
about
and
2 feet of snow.
It was cold.
Yeah,
I always tell people it was 11 degrees in the morning we started, and then it got cold. It was Bath County, the Homestead, great place.
That'll be next week.
Yep.
I have been Tay Whiteside,
Mike Whiteside here, and we appreciate everything you do.
Appreciate you. This was the Black Dog Salvage podcast. See you next week.
When it goes around one more time. All right.
We did it.
Yeah, man.
Let's get May home.
She's over there.
Real close, May. We got one more thing. Real close. We're almost done.